showtime, so put your feet up for an hour and tune into the Red and Blue Review. Nick, Ian, Jill, and the crew are waiting to hear from you, so get those comments in.
We have breaking news.
Ian Noble has been to an away match.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening and a warm welcome to the Red and Blue Review. He's not going to be happy. He's not going to be happy. Welcome to the Red and Blue Review. My name is Nick Philpott. I am your host this evening. That was a pre-recorded message, of course. First of all, ladies first, welcome, Yaz. How are you?
Hi, Nick. I'm fine, thank you. Bit tired after this week. It's been a lot of travelling.
You've been a busy girl this week, haven't you? And talking about busy people, Paul Gear, a.k.a. The Real Panel, fresh back from the States. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you, Nick. Still a bit jet-lagged, but it's good to get back on the road yesterday to watch Palace, and now a nice unbeaten week to talk about.
Indeed, you know. Obviously, you're going to Vegas, of course. You haven't got enough money to buy any new shirts at the moment, I understand.
Yes, my wallet is still suffering.
Good lad, good lad. And, of course, let's welcome himself, Lord Noble. How are you, mate?
Very good evening, Nick, Yasmin, Paul, everyone out there. Good evening. Hello.
Look at all the people joining us. People, have a look at my comment at the very top of the comments page. I'll be very pleased and honoured if you actually comment on what the question I've written. There it is. It's on screen for you. Daniel James, Phillips, Trev, Tim Richards. I'm coming to in a minute. RP66. Who are you? Can you put your name in the chat so I know who you are? Because you're a regular contributor to the show. And I'd love to say hello to you by name, not RP66. Paul Grant, of course. Kicking off the top of the show, if you don't mind, a quick mention to our fab host and co-presenter is Tim Richards, who is, there he is. There's a get well soon card from us, mate. I hope your leg's getting better. He's just had an operation to have his knee replaced, bless his heart. So he's going to be out of action for the next few weeks. But we're sending you our love and hope you heal quickly, buddy. I have seen that picture that you posted to Nigel. I don't want it on the show, but there you go. Go for it.
Are we saying that not only are our first team squad going down, even members of the FAB are getting injured now?
Yeah, there's something about it. Well, I don't know what Tim's training methods are, but they're obviously the same as Glasner's. It's a good point, actually. Really good point. We are hit by injuries and suspensions coming up. We're going to be talking about 2 Midlands away trips this week, of course. Paul's going to be taking you through the Villa game. Ian will be taking you through the Wolves game during the course of the show. Get your comments in for us, please. Now, we have got a little bit of housekeeping. Yaz, over to you.
Yeah, so our friends at the CPDSA, the Disabled Supporters Association, have asked us to plug the sponsored cycle ride again. So Lindsay, who comes on here, has said, guys, I know it's late, but please could you give the DSA bike ride a plug? They desperately need sponsors to pay for sensory kits. So at the moment, there's 15 cyclists doing the ride, and the sensory packs will help those with special needs using the sensory rooms at Selhurst to have a much better match day experience. And things that are included in the packs are ear defenders and fidget toys and things like that. So if you can, please give them a sponsor, because it's really hard at the moment to raise money and it's a really good cause.
Thank you for that, yes. And there was a QR code for those watching on the pod. You can actually watch it back on YouTube, of course. There is a QR code for you. Just scan the QR code. Give the lovely people out there say as much support as you can. And I know it's Lindsay's watching us. Evening, Linz. I've been in touch with Bruce this week as well. I know he's on the mend. So sending you love to you both. And please support the bike ride wherever you can. There was something in the chat a minute ago. Rob Donovan says in the chat, can we put a few of the panel out on loan for development? I think it's a little bit hard.
Rude? That's a bit rude, isn't it?
It is a little bit dodgy, isn't it? I'm going to ban him for the questions crew soon, so he can't be horrible to me anymore. RP66 is Paul. Good evening, Paul, and welcome to the show, mate. Teresa Baker. Sorry, guys, can't join you live as I'm playing poker in Malta. We'll catch up with the pod. Good on you, love, and good luck with the poker. So, a little bit more housekeeping for you. teams around the club, how they're all getting on. Results since the last show. The under-21s on Friday night played a Premier League 2 Division 1 at the BBS Community Stadium, where they spanked Tottenham Hotspur 5-1. Bear in mind, this is the same under-21 team that lost 10-0 to Brighton a couple of weeks ago, okay? And it's a hat-trick for young Jemiah Umola, okay? Nigel was saying pre-show he's got a whole batch full of goals for the club so far this season. So good luck to him and good luck to his development. The under-21s yesterday in the under-18s Premier League at Sevilla Reality Training Centre, Arsenal won, Crystal Palace won, which is a very credible result against that lot. Okay, obviously we've got some unfinished business coming up against the first team in the next couple of weeks. And the ladies at Selhurst Park this afternoon. There's a lineup for you for the team that faced Man City at Selhurst this afternoon, and a very impressive turnout for the Palace fans, and quite a few. There's probably a couple of hundred Man City fans came down for that one as well. Sadly, however, the girls ran out 3-0 losers as a final result. It was a good game. They were in the game for certainly most of the first half, and they went behind just before the break, and then Man City pushed on in the second half and showed their class. If you imagine what their budget is compared to our ladies' budget, it's chalk and cheese. But so, yeah, they're having a good go. I think last time I looked, they were third from bottom in the WSL. So good luck, girls. Keep it going. If any of you are watching, we're sending you all our love and support. Right, Paul, over to you, my man. I think we'll kick off with the Villa game, if you'd be so kind. A very unexpected victory on the road. I know they were under strength team. I'm sure you're going to fill in all the blanks for us.
Yeah, I predicted. I think I predicted we'd win this game a couple of weeks ago on here, but simply on the basis that Villa probably wasn't too high up their priority list. But yeah, we up to Villa Park on Wednesday, and if we can see the team, that would be good. As he's been doing all season, he's been playing a strong team in the cup. He's always come out, Oliver Glasner, and said he takes it very importantly, and that every game is important. And I think we all like to hear that. It's nice to get a cup run. So I didn't have a problem. I saw the side; it's full strength. My only issue was probably playing Walton. I think the rest of them it's all fine, but Walton we're trying to manage anyway. And so I was a bit surprised to see him playing, but the rest of it was obviously the first team bar suspensions and injuries. So yeah, we go into the game and we started the better team. We saw the Villa team, and obviously that was, as we said, suspected, a bit weak. Even still, they still got some good players. I mean, John Durand's one of the sort of form forwards of the division this season. He's scoring goals for fun, so he's always worrying to see him there and Bailey. So they weren't a poor team by any stretch of the imagination, but certainly we'd gone bit more confident than them, and we started that way. We started on the ball, playing some good football, culminating in a very quick goal. It was a lovely little move. Daniel Moonell's down the right, great cross, and Eze with a beautiful header. I mean, it's one of those headers where he just guides it into the corner. He's not trying to power anything. And I can't think of too many headers he's scored, but it was well taken. It was a great goal and a good start. And really, it was a case of then kicking on, and we kept playing on going. And then, unfortunately, he just suddenly sat down, and it was obvious he had a problem. And there's obviously no point in taking risks at that point, but he obviously knew there was something wrong. So it was the first blow of the night, really, him having to go off. So yeah, he went off.
Paul, did we hear anything from that? Because he was having a scan on the Thursday, I think it was. Did anybody hear?
Oliver Glasner in his press conference said the other day that he's certainly out for. He said he's certainly out for Wolves. He's certainly out for Fulham. And he may be back after the international break, but that may be optimistic. So I think we're probably looking at hamstring 6 weeks or something. So it could be early December. But yeah, it's not. Unfortunately, it's a hamstring problem rather than just a precautionary takeoff or anything like that. So yeah, he went off, and obviously that would have given probably Villa some confidence, and they started going back into the game a bit, and then scored. It was well taken by the striker. I think Matt Turner probably should have saved it. And I think from his reaction, banging the ground, I think he knew that as well. Go on, Ian.
It was deflected, wasn't it? It came off Gahey as well. I mean, you could argue that he could have done better. But it's the first time you mentioned Matt Turner, Paul. I think one of the things about Matt Turner is that we were surprised to see him on the team sheet for a start.
Yeah,
there was a good reason for that, because Henderson attended the boy Baldock's funeral, who he played with at Sheffield United on that day. He was on the bench and he was in the squad. But that's the reason we hear why Henderson didn't start at Villa Park. But I was pleased for Turner, pleased to see him get minutes. And, that side, he dealt with a few things early on, which he could have come unstuck with, but he didn't. He did what he had to do. And I thought he was a bit unlucky with the goal. I thought it was deflection that beat him.
There was a small deflection. I still, as I say, the fact that he banged the ground when he let it in, I think he knew he probably should have done a bit better. But as I say, it's his first game for a while probably, and he's a little bit rusty. And again, that's why he has to play some games. And I think the cup is probably even if you play your strong team, most teams play their second keeper and stuff. So, but yeah, so it made 1-1, and then straight after that, Adam Walton then suddenly sat down and had to be taken off. And again, you wonder. To me, it was not a very sensible move to play him. He played nearly 90 minutes against Spurs. And if you're trying to manage him now, when you look at that situation, I mean, really, we probably should have sent him off to surgery before this point. They've now, Oliver Glasner again said in his conference before the Wolves game, they have finally decided to do that and give him the surgery. Now, maybe it's because we've been bare bones, probably because Lerma's been out, Doucouré's been out, and he's been forced to play. But they've got to the point now where it's like, well, we can't do it to him anymore. It's not helping anyone. So he's going to be out for 4 weeks, I think is the plan. So hopefully he'll be back just after the international break.
Does anybody know? I do know the answer to this, but does anybody else know what the actual issue is?
It's a groin issue, isn't it? So,
it's actually a little bit more than that. I won't go into too much detail, but it's how young men develop into men. Okay, they're round things drop down through 2 holes as they get a little bit older, and he's got an infection inside the bone structure around those 2 holes, and he does need the operation to heal it. I think it's going to be quite a lengthy layoff, if I'm honest with you.
Lindsay says hernia. Is that what you mean? Is that what you're trying to describe?
No. Okay, if you're asking the question directly, I'll answer it. Okay, it's when the testicles drop through into the testes sac. Okay, the hole that they actually drop down through.
How do you even know that?
I do know this. Okay, and the problem with it is it's prone to scar tissue after the operation, so that's why it's likely to be a lengthy layoff afterwards.
The press conference, he said 4 weeks. So it'd be interesting to see. Ironically, you could probably have thought, well, Doucouré's been training, Hughes is playing well, so we can probably now let him go. And ironically, we'll come to Hughes is now making himself unavailable, but that's another thing. So so he weighs off as well, and so our 2 best players have gone off. So suddenly our full strength team is.
We're all laughing. Let's say what we're laughing at. We're laughing at Phillips von David's comment.
and David Hart's and everybody else's. Paul Bristow, they've all said the same thing. Stop giggling, you bunch of children, and get on with it.
It was too obvious, but yeah, but yeah. So we were suddenly down with our 2 best players down, and the game sort of descended a bit at that point into a bit of a nothing game really. There wasn't too much happening. We got to halftime 1-1. Came out second half, and again it wasn't much different. Obviously, Schlupp had come on for us, and he wasn't really impacting the game. That's another story about we'll talk about Jeff Schlupp. But yeah, so the game was just ambling through, and then sort of middle of the second half, Villa gave the ball away on the edge of their box straight to Kamada, who put his head down, went forward to the goal, and hit a nice shot in the bottom corner of the goal, which was going to do his confidence the world of good. He was giving the ball a bit away before that, so
can we talk about that?
He's a bit of a conundrum, this guy, and I think we'll probably talk about him after the Wolves review and whatever. A goal like that can only help him. I have an issue with the position he's playing at the moment, which we'll discuss later. But let's just say he's got to bed into the team a bit more anyway. That can only help him really. But yeah, so it was a good goal though. Fair play. Gone in.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth talking about Kamada a little bit more at this juncture, I think, because Yaz will agree with me, I'm sure. In the ground, we were moaning about him because he was giving the ball away far too often. He really wasn't playing very well at all. He came on and started playing in the 10 when Eze went off. And then when Walton went off, he dropped back into the 6. And, so he's playing 2 positions in quick succession. He can't have been happy. And I think Glasner made a comment afterwards, said that he talked to him at half time. But I was really pleased for him because everyone was giving him stick. Everybody was giving him stick in the ground. And yet he struck the ball really well. And the reason he got on the ball so well was that we kept the press going. And this is what we did well against Tottenham in the previous game as well. It's that press all the time, forcing the errors. They give the ball away, and gives you that opportunity.
I think technically he's a good player, and as I say, he's when we brought him in, I thought he was for the 10 role behind the front man, but he's playing as a holding midfielder of necessity in some ways. And Glasner has said he's played there for him before in the past, so he knows he can do the job there. My problem with him there is he's clearly a forward player, and he wants to play the ball forward. So when he's in the advanced role, if you give the ball away, it's not quite so problematic. When he gives the ball away in the holding midfield, it's generally in our half or on the halfway line, and they're suddenly onto us. And he seems to have a bit of. I never like to say this about football. He's a bit unlucky. I mean, at Wolves yesterday, a couple of times he goes to tackle someone, and he'll either miss the ball or they'll go around him. And then he's just, for some reason, he's completely out of the game. He's just like a lost player at that point. They've taken him out of the equation, and they're coming onto us. So he's, as I say, I think he will get there. I think he's a good squad player. I don't think if everyone's fit, he would get the first team. But personally, I'd like to see him in the further ahead role, because there was a nice position yesterday. I mean, he did okay yesterday. He gave the ball a couple of ways, but so did all of them. There was a very nice thing in the second half when he got the ball on the halfway line, went forward, past a couple of players, played a lovely through ball to Sarr, who controlled it well, juggled on his chest, and again should have finished but didn't. So I think there's a play, as I've said before, there's a player in there, but I think because maybe he's a bit trying to be too clever or progressive, when he gives the ball away in that deeper position, it just puts us under pressure. And that obviously,
he's just very lightweight, isn't he? I mean, I remember I can't remember the fixture at home early in the season when he was playing alongside Walton, and they were both very lightweight in the middle of the park. And that's what he's got to improve. I mean, people could say you could argue that he's still adjusting to the Premier League, of course, but you know what? At the moment, we haven't got time for him to adjust. You
can only say that for so long, though, Nick, can't you? You know, you can't keep saying that. You know, I would have thought by now he should have been up to speed with it a little bit more.
And again, you could say he's not had a run. He's not. He does start games and then gets dropped to the bench and whatever. And he's come from an Italian league, which is obviously a lot slower. So he's got to get up to the pace. So it's one of those. I don't think we should write him off, but he's going to be essential for the next few weeks while people are out. So it would be good if we can get him some confidence. And a goal like that can only help. And like I said, I didn't think he did too bad yesterday. It's just he's unfortunate when it does go wrong for him. It does tend to go badly wrong. But yeah, so that was that game. And then, again, the game started to peter out at that point. I think with 10 minutes to go, Villa weren't busting a gut to get back into that game. I think if we're 2-1 up there in the league in a couple of weeks with 10 minutes to go, you'll see a very different reaction to them. As I say, it was their least important game of the season. They've got bigger fish to fry. They're in the Champions League next week. They had Tottenham today, which obviously didn't go well for them. But yeah, we cruised through to the final whistle. Got a good win. Again, any win is it doesn't matter who's on the opposite side of the pitch. You've got to beat them, and we did. It's 2 wins in a row. Good for confidence. So yeah, it was overall a good night.
Thank you, mate. So Daichi Kamada's winner delivered Crystal Palace an impressive victory at Villa Park. This puts them into the quarterfinals against Arsenal. That game will be played. That's the first time we've reached the quarterfinals since the 2011-2012 season. They're going to travel to Arsenal week commencing the 16th of December. Guys, can we discuss that potential fixture carnage or car crashes coming up?
Yeah, it's because Arsenal women are at home in the Champions League on the Wednesday evening, the 18th of December, which is the date that would be best for everyone for that game to be played. We're away at Brighton on the Sunday. Of course, we play Arsenal in the Premier League at home on the Saturday tea time. So the only real day it can be played is the Wednesday, but it can't be played at the Emirates that day because of their women having a fixture that's already in the diary, if you like. Nigel's helpfully put that on screen. If anyone wants to digest that and give me a summary in 3 words, very welcome. But basically, it means they can play the game whenever they like. I think, isn't it?
Does that say highlighted, including but not limited to arranging for the competition match to be played at a neutral venue?
Well, one of the things they could have done is to turn around and said, you know what, Crystal Palace, why don't you host it? Would they? They're never going to do that, though, are they? I mean, they could have.
They won't give up. I mean, let's be honest. They need. They're falling away in the league. Everything. They need every chance of winning a trophy they can get. So they won't want to do that. But it is a bit of a sticky one. I mean, there is a spare date. Sky could move our Saturday league game against them to the following Monday because there's no Monday night game. I know it's the 23rd of December and just before Christmas, but as I say, they played on Christmas Eve the other year, so there's no problem with that. There's nothing to rearrange, and then we could play them on the Thursday. So there's a few options, but if they don't want to do that, then someone has got to play twice in 3 days. Now, the two options, the fairest way to do that would play on the Thursday. So then both Palace and Arsenal will play on Thursday, Saturday, rather than if they play the Tuesday, then it's only Palace who have that suffering. So it'll be interesting to see what they come up with. Either way, it's a shame because, as I say, it's a quarter-final of a big cup, and we want as a fair a crack at the whip as we can get at it, really.
And what do you think the allocation is going to be in?
7,000, I think. That's what they're talking about. Which would be lovely if we can get, there's no reason why, if we get 7,000 tickets, we should take 7,000 supporters to the Emirates.
All day long.
It is a week before Christmas. I think, someone said Norwich City a few years ago took 7,000 to Arsenal in the competition. So, yeah, it would be good. And we'll make a lot of noise, and in the yellow kit, it'll be lovely. It'll be a good night.
We do make. We make a lot of noise in that little corner anyway. When we got whatever it is, two areas of it. Imagine filling half that end. There's 7,000 of us. Yes, you'll be going to that. Stupid question, really.
Yeah, I'll be there. Not sure about Ian, but
I've never said a word. I've never said anything. I think.
Listen, Yasmin, you and I can fall out. You know that, don't you?
I can see a complaint going into personnel here about bullying in the workplace. Okay, I am personnel.
And this is the gratitude I get, having driven her to Villa Park and back. Been her chauffeur, and she even forgot the jam tarts. She booked some jam tarts at the services and then couldn't find them when I was in need of sustenance driving. So.
Paul Bristow says swapping the venue to away team's ground has already happened in this competition when AFC Wimbledon's pitch was unplayable. Yeah. See, that's why we love you, Bristow. Good lad. Okay.
The other option, which I quite like, is just make the league game a double header. Put more jeopardy on it. Awesome. Go for it.
What, 2 games in one afternoon?
No. Just the game counts for both.
Oh, right, okay.
If it goes to a draw, then it's 1 point each, but we have a penalty shootout to sort the cup out. If we win, it's 3 points and go through. Great.
Do you not play double headers? Double headers used to be half an hour each way, and you played 2 hours of football.
We can't do that. No. Just
boys, I thought it was only me supposed to be talking bollocks on here. So there's there's the young Villa fan who I have to say that was a brilliant, and that certainly went viral on Twitter. That's for sure. It was quality. And Mudos was actually apologising for their fan for bundling their supporter into the advertising hoarding, which he did. It was all done accidentally. He said, "Look, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that." And the kids sat there and did this. It was funny. Right, we're going to move on, Nigel, if you don't mind. We're going to do the Loan Watch next. Excuse me. We are following 7 players, but I actually want to talk about an 8th player in a minute. Owen Goodman, who kept a clean sheet for Wimbledon, who won 2-0 away at Milton Keynes Dons in the Cup. Joe Whitworth played the full 90 minutes for Exeter, who won 5-3 against Barnet in the Cup. Danny Imre played 93 minutes for Bromley, but then was given his second yellow card of the match. Bromley did win 4-3 away to Rochdale in the Cup. Jez Raksaki played the first 66 minutes for Sheffield United and the 2-0 win over Blackburn. Now, Ian, you said pre-show that you watched that game, until Jez went
I did, because as Yasmin has already pointed out, I didn't travel to Wolves yesterday, but I did manage, therefore, to watch Blackburn v Sheffield United on Sky at lunchtime. And, Jez and Raksaki played very well. He didn't last much longer than the hour, but he did play well. And Sheffield United fans absolutely love him. They really do. And he's having a great season for them. A couple of things he did was sublime. And what I'm really pleased about is that the loan seems to be working for him. He had a good season at Charlton, and now he's having a good season in the Championship. And hopefully the next step up will be playing with Crystal Palace in the Premier League. Whether that's next season or whether if we're really thin on the ground, it's possible we can call him back in January. But I suspect it'll be next season. But he's doing really well.
Thank you for all that, mate. You're just taking all my notes away from me, and that's what you're here for. Good lad. Cheers. Taya Adramola made it back to the Stockport County starting 11 and played 67 minutes as County beat Forest Green Rovers 2-1 in the FA Cup. And David Ozo on loan at Derby County is still missing from the matchday squad due to injury, and no league match for Luke Plange in Helsinki. They don't play again until November the 7th in the Champions League. In the Champions League, really? Okay. And the other one I did want to talk about a little bit, the forgotten man of Crystal Palace Football Club, was Odsonne Edouard. Now, not even making the Leicester bench. Any news on that at all, Paul?
No, I mean, I haven't followed that one, to be honest. I can only assume he's injured. I mean, I'd be surprised. Okay, he might not be making a big splash up there or whatever, but I'd have thought he'd at least be on the bench if he was available. But no, it's a strange one. He has been on the bench, so the fact that he's not there, I'm taking the fact he's injured. Who knows?
Very strange one. Very strange. Good evening, George Wagru. Hope you're well, mate. I can see you join us, and Tony and a couple of others, late arrivals, have joined us. And then, of course, yesterday we travelled up to Molineux, or some of us did, to enjoy a day out. Crystal Palace playing another Premier League game at Molineux, and which obviously ended 2-2. Mr. Noble's going to talk us through it.
Yes.
Warning: Ian Noble missing from an away game once again.
Dear, oh dear. I think Nigel's got too much time on his hands. I tell you, he really has. So I watched this game with a few of the Uckfield Eagles in the St. Ports Club in Uckfield. There must have been about a dozen of us in there. So it's the next best thing to be in there in the away end. But I was really impressed by the number we took up there, actually. So well done, you two, for travelling. First of all, let's get the team up. Of course, there were enforced changes, which we knew about. We knew there would be no Eza and Wharton, which we've already talked about on the show earlier. And yet the changes, obviously, from the previous game, Henderson came in goal, as you would expect. The back five, it picked itself almost. And it's great to see that the central back three are playing together now, and they're understanding a little bit better. And, of course, two of them were on the score sheet as well yesterday, which was an added bonus. But Hughes came in to start, and so did Kamada. Both, of course, came off the bench at Villa Park earlier in the week. Did we have two goalkeepers on the bench as well? Yeah, we had Turner and Matthews. So one of those weeks where the bench was really thin and there wasn't much to influence.
Do you know, I hadn't noticed that, Ian. Good spot. I never noticed that.
Yeah, there we go. So there we go. So, I mean, the game, for me, there wasn't much to talk about early on in the game. There weren't many incidents. The first real chance came 20-odd minutes, 27 minutes, I think, into the game. And it was Mateta who had a shot blocked by Chalobah on the line. It was a well-worked corner, I thought, from the left-hand side. Ball was swung in after a backwards and forwards, and Mark Gahey got his head to it. He headed it across. Chalobah fluffed his lines. Ball fell to Mateta, and he blasts it right at Chalobah, who clears it off their line, which was bizarre. And in the ground, I think you guys thought that he just missed the target. Is that right, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, I think the angle we were at was obviously not right, but all we saw is he pull his foot back, and the next thing the ball's in the top corner of the stand, and the linesman's got his flag up, and we're just thinking, well, the ref's he's either just had a horrendous miss and the ref's given a foul, or he didn't even bother, because, yeah, we didn't even see it at Chalobah, but I mean, yeah, how? I know it's quite hard to, you'd think, miss or hit him from there, but it was just one of those crazy moments, really.
It was. And I think what we don't really understand, if we haven't played the game at the highest level, the ball comes to them so quickly in the penalty area, and they've got to react quickly to give themselves half a chance of scoring. So as one of those things, so the commentators couldn't quite believe how we weren't in front, and neither could I. The Dawson handball then, I think that was around then. I can't remember whether it was before or after that incident. I think it's probably afterwards. And this is where Oliver Glasner was really quite vociferous after the game, saying this should have been a red card for Dawson, the Wolves centre-back. As Mateta flicks the ball on, he's on the left there, and you can see just a little bit of Sarr on the right-hand side of that graphic, and he would have been through on goal. Now, that's not going to say he's going to score, given he's finishing in this game that we saw later in the game, but nevertheless, he did stop a goal-scoring opportunity. Red card or no red card? I'd be interested in your views in the chat. Yasmin, what are your thoughts? Do you think it was a red card, or do you think, he got away with one?
Well, he didn't even give us the foul. So we were all screaming at the time that was handball. So yes, it should have been a red card. But he didn't give us anything, and he was very odd. He would be making really strange, giving fouls when they weren't fouls, and then not giving them when they were. So I spent quite a lot of time shouting at the referee, has to be said.
Good. Well, I'm impressed. Well done. Good for you. Yeah. Nice one. Paul, was she really badly behaved yesterday then in the away end, or what?
Yeah, I was trying to keep away. I didn't want to be associated with her. It was outrageous. But she was right. That was the problem. Anthony Taylor had a very erratic match. And that's probably one of the reasons he didn't give it, because he knew if he did give a foul, he had to send him off. And he just wasn't in that kind of mood. But yeah, it's if he's given it, it's a red card. I mean, Saul, as we say, Saul was clean through. But yeah, whether that would have resulted in a goal the way he was playing, who knows? But it was just another one of those comic decisions.
John,
Yeah,
I actually disagree with you, John Knox. I reckon I do make him the last man, and Saul was absolutely alongside him. And Paul's quite right to allude to the fact that the way Saul's shooting boots at the moment, there's no guarantee he would have scored that anyway. But to me, I mean, it couldn't have been a yellow. It was either nothing as he gave it, or it was a red card. So.
I think the point that Paul Bristow made last week in the comments on the show was the fact that, it's not a question of him being the last man. It's a question of denying a goal-scoring opportunity. And I think he was, therefore, denying a goal-scoring opportunity by handballing it and stopping the ball going through. So, Wolves clearly got away with one with that incident. Henderson made a very good save in the first half from Sariba. He made other saves as well, but there was a very good one early on. And the one I think it was in the second half, early on in the second half, the save he hit it, took it right in the face. He came out, made himself big, but he knocked him out almost. But thank goodness he did. We had two keepers on the bench, as I said, so they would have been both warming up by then, thinking they might get a game. But he recovered well, and he had a good game, Henderson, yesterday. I thought. Yeah, you agree? You're nodding with me, Paul?
Yeah, no, he did everything that was asked of him. There's a couple of one-on-one stops when the pressure was on. Yeah, couldn't ask much more of him yesterday.
No chance with their goals then, really.
No, I think he was a bit annoyed with the first one in that it went through his legs. But that's just good striking. Yeah. I mean, he's got to come out and it's going to happen. But no, you wouldn't put any blame on him.
Yeah. Okay. So we're 0-0, and we take the lead. Which was nice. So a free kick, sort of, and it was Kamada plays it square to Hughes, who puts the ball into the box, and it was a Wolves player. I think it was Strand Larsen, their centre forward, who heads it on to Shalabar. So you see there, sort of, if you you can see the ball, and he's just lurking at the far post, and he took it really well. Fantastic finish for 1-0. Happy days. Shortly after that, Nketiah crossed the ball for Sarr, and he should have made it 2. There's no question about that. He was actually on the penalty spot when he hit it. It was almost like he was taking a penalty, and he blasted it over. And if that goes in, I think I think we win the game. There were other chances as well, but that was the most clear-cut one, I think, for Sarr to have missed. And then the goals then come thick and fast, don't they? So Wolves, Strand Larsen scores their equaliser. Now, there was the controversy here as well, because Cunha, who assisted the goal, handballed it in the build-up. But because he's not the goal scorer, it can't be ruled out. And that's the rule, which is a bizarre rule, Paul Gear, don't you think?
It is and it isn't. A lot of this all came about because a lot of goals were being chalked out with goal just because it hits the arm rather than it's handball. Yeah. If it's handball, it's got to be regardless of who touches it. But when it just bounces off someone's arm and it's not intentional or whatever, now it's only limited to the goal scorer. So I can see the rule, to be honest. I mean, I didn't notice that in the ground at all, that it hit his arm or anything like that. I think we contributed to a bit to our own downfall in that point. Mark Gay made an overlapping run and they lost the ball. Well, I think Eddie gave it away, and Mark was right out of position. So that obviously contributed to them having a 2-on-1 with one of our centre backs gone. So it was a little bit unfortunate on that. But they took the goal. They took the goal well, but it was the worst timing really, because once we scored, their crowd really turned on their manager, and he made 3 subs, which they weren't happy with either, and they were chanting he didn't know what he's doing, and we had them on the rack, and they were there to be finished off. And as you say, if we'd have taken one of these chances to get that killer second goal, which is our Achilles heel all season, we would have finished them off at that point. So when they scored, that really gave them a boost, and I was a little bit disappointed because to me it was quite obvious they were going to score again. I thought this team looked very weak at that point. There was weak mentality. There was no real winding, getting players going again. Yeah. And to me, it was only a matter of time before they scored again, which sadly
it was a bit like the spell in the first half at Villa Park when we made the changes,
Yes.
the enforced changes at Villa Park, because we just lost our way a bit. We lost our shape. And we just lost the confidence to play the ball like we were doing so well in other parts of the game. And you're right, it was Eddie Nketiah lost the ball quite high up the pitch, and it was a beautiful ball by their player, to play in Cunha. But again, Chalobah, he was at fault a little bit because he sort of sold himself. And when it's 2v2, I think it was 2v2, he needs to take a step back. If he's not going to win it first ball, he needs to try and make sure he wins the second ball. But yeah, as you say, it was. Wolves then were in the ascendancy. They had the crowd then got behind them, and it isn't quite like a lot of Premier League grounds when they're full. The home advantage counts, doesn't it? Because the crowd makes such a noise, and they really got behind them. At 1-1, we did have another chance before they took the lead. Kamada and Mitchell sort of got in each other's way. You see that one? And Kamada shot miles wide. But, another day, it was a better connection and we got a better chance. But it was sort of half chance, I suppose, in the penalty area. And for their second goal, it was a nice move from them. There's no doubt about it. They did some good football. But what I noticed really was that there were so many players back in our penalty area. And yet we still gave the bloke the freedom of the penalty area. He picked him out and there were 6 players around him, but no one near enough to make a challenge, which was a bit crazy. So I hope they can learn from that. Sarr seemed to be busy up the other end. We talked about him already a little bit. Kamada, he got the ball through. I think you touched on this one during the Villa game, Paul, didn't you? Kamada played a beautiful ball through to Sarr, who sort of hit it first time, saved comfortably. It's fairly easy save by Sarr, their goalkeeper. 2 Sarrs on the pitch. That's confusing for any commentator or anyone trying to do a podcast reporting on a game. And then we score the equaliser. And what was great about this equaliser? It was from a corner.
Woo-hoo.
And when Paul gave us the last time.
Yeah, we needed to celebrate that. Yeah, we said on the show before, it was March the 12th, 2022, I think. It was a consolation goal at Arsenal, so we didn't even celebrate the last time we scored from a corner. We were 4-0 down after 20 minutes, I think, in that game, and Jeff got a consolation in the second half. But yeah, corner was swung in by Kamada and flicked on, and back post Mark was there to steer it home. It was, I think we're all more in shock that we scored from a corner rather than scoring the goal. But to be fair, as I've just said, having seen the team go mentally a bit weak, it was pretty impressive to see them come back like that. As I say, they've had 3 tough games in a week, so they could have wilted, but they did get that second wind. And our set pieces were generally better yesterday. We were hitting a lot sort of to the back post and whatever. Scoring from a corner was quite good. Yes.
So I just wanted to mention something else about it. So Mark scored, and I said at the time, we didn't sing his name. So when Chalobah scored, we suddenly come up with the Conor Gallagher thing for Chalobah. Oh, okay. But for Mark, nothing. And I really want to put it out there. Someone's got to come up with something. I was told to do it. Well, I'm rubbish at that. I could only think of the England one. But seriously, he's our captain. He is actually our player. And let's show him some appreciation by chanting his name. So
very good, very good.
Well said. Well said.
We need a song for Mark Gay. You to me,
song for Mark Gay, everyone.
Yeah, You to me are everything's a great song, but we need alternative lyrics to that song. Probably that's what we need. And look, coming back to the goal again. So Kamada, good delivery. Let's be clear about that from the corner. Yep. Really good delivery. Munoz flick, Munoz assist. Which is nice because it's good to have him involved in the goal, and therefore 2 centre backs scoring our goals. And then I suppose the only other thing to talk about in this game is the final moment almost the final moments when in stoppage time we do get the ball in the back of the net for a 3rd time, and it's ruled out. So. John Philippe Mateta down the left-hand side, he crosses it into the box. The Wolves defender sort of gets a foot on it, and the keeper tries to grab it, gets 2 hands on it. Munoz is there again. What's he doing up there anyway? At this stage of the game, he's everywhere, isn't he, Munoz? And the referee deems it was a foul by Munoz on the goalkeeper ahead of JPM slotting it into an empty net. What do we think? Do we think it was the right decision, or do we think it was the wrong decision and the goal should have stood? Try and take your red and blue tinted specs off when you talk about this one. Paul, what do you think?
Well, talking of Munoz being up there, I mean, it was quite an interesting substitution. Munoz was actually playing up front at that point in the 10 because Klein had come on to replace him at right back. And it's quite interesting. But even at right back, he probably would have been there anyway, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, whenever we have a controversial incident like this, my first sort of reaction is if it was a Palace issue, what would I think? And if that had been given against Palace, I'd have been pretty annoyed. I think he probably had the rule technically is if he's got one hand, it's two hands on the ball, but if you've got one hand on the ball when the ball's on the ground, you have got the ball squashed. And I think it's one of those 50-50s. There was a Wolves fan on the radio we heard in the car on the way back saying he thought they got away with it. He thought there was a goal. Gary O'Neill tellingly, when he was asked about it, normally if he was bullish, you know what he's like about VAR decisions, he would come out and say the fact that he was a bit sheepish about it suggested he wasn't convinced. So it was one of those, if it had been given, I think it would have been fine. If it's not, you can understand it. I'm not too.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you're right. I think it's one of those if referee, whatever he decides on the pitch, VAR are not going to overturn it. But you could have seen it given. A lot of people saying it should have been a goal, never a foul. But if the boot had been on the other foot and it had been against us, we wouldn't have been very happy if that had been given. Especially and Glasson was doing his bits actually. At the end, he wasn't very happy at all. And it's worth saying that Clinton Morrison on Sky thought it was a goal, and the other co-commentator as well thought that we were hard done by. So the game finishes 2-2. Let's have a look at the stats, please, Nige, just to finish up with. So Wolves have the majority of possession. They're the home team, but look at the shots and the shots on target. Corners, one of which we scored from. So, the stats are good. And I think, it's worth just mentioning again, this is the third game in 6 days. A squad, and many of those players have played every minute of those 3 games. So well done to them. And if you'd all offered us this at the beginning of the week, 2 league games, 4 points, and progressing to the quarterfinals of the Carabao, we would have taken that for sure, Paul.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and the other lasting part of the game was Will Hughes' booking.
Oh, of course.
Just coming on to that, mate. Well done.
Yeah, it's his fifth booking, so he could now have he's got a 1-game ban now, I believe. And it was ironic because it was like 30 seconds before he was about to be subbed off anyway, whether he was going to be bought off to avoid that booking or whether it was just to get Decore minutes, I'm not sure. But it was ironic the minute he got the booking, he was taken off. But yeah, so we're obviously down to bare bones in midfield with Lerma out and Walton out anyway. So Decore may have to come back a bit quicker than planned. But yeah, it was a bit unfortunate that he got that 5th booking. Really.
Yeah, I think I said in last week's show, I think he's probably been our most consistent player this season, Will Hughes. He's been brilliant for us. And I think at the beginning of the season, you wouldn't have necessarily had him in the starting 11 at all. You would think, he's going to be a squad player. But he's done really, really well. Yeah, and really nice interview afterwards by him on Palace Player as well. He's an articulate young guy, so not that young, but, he's an articulate footballer who... has done really well for us, and obviously, hopefully, we don't miss him too much against Fulham, but I think we will miss him at times. But he's got a yellow card in him every game, hasn't he? That's the problem, really. So there we are.
And on the subject of yellow cards, ladies and gents, I believe didn't Munoz get booked as well on the Wolves game?
Yes, he did. Yeah,
and for that reason, because he's got 2 bookings already in the competition, he misses the Arsenal game.
Oh, sorry.
Paul Bristow, could you just confirm what I've just said is accurate, please? And I know that you'll know the answer. Just say yes, Nick, or no, Nick. So I know I've got it right.
It is a separate disciplinary system in that cup. I think red cards carry over, but bookings just carry into that. Yeah,
and it's something along the lines, if we beat Arsenal, we've got 3 players also on yellow cards, and the only way they can get Mr. Final should we get there is if they get a red card in the semi-final.
They get scrubbed, yeah.
Yeah, something along those. Yeah, they get scrubbed in for the final. So I believe, hopefully I've got those right. I don't have that written down in front of me. I haven't got that research, but from what I understand, there you go. Paul Bristow has already come on it. Daniel Munoz is suspended from the Arsenal Cup after 2 bookings in the League Cup. Thank you, mate. Cheers. I appreciate that. Okay. Nigel, if you'd kind of like to mention our Instagram account, please, because young Tom Clark Samuel does his work on there diligently every week, and he gets no thanks for it from anywhere else. So we do thank you. Please give him a like, share, or follow. red_and_blue_review. Like, share, or follow. Comment on these quizzes he puts up there and his match reviews and all that sort of stuff. Give him a bit of a like, share, or follow. Now, boys, and Yaz, I've got and also follow Ian on our Twitter account. Okay, it's at red_blue_review. Give that a follow as well. And we'd like to. And ladies and gentlemen, for those that you join us after 8 o'clock, where have you been? Okay, why are you late? Report to the head teacher, please. But I also put a comment right at the very top of the comments page. I'd be very grateful if you indulge me and answer the question I set you right at the very top of the show. Guys, there was a question in there a minute ago that are any of you getting fed up with Oliver Glasner's tactics? Now, I don't know what it was actually alluding to, but his style of football isn't to everybody's choice. It is to mine. I think it's, the choice we had, it was either under the previous management and Glasner's, I know, which I'd rather be doing. Paul, I'm going to come to you first. Are you happy with Glasner's style of management and his tactics that he uses?
Yeah. I mean, I think he said he'll be flexible, but he hasn't shown that yet. Now, he's playing the same system he played that we played at the end of last season, which was free-flowing, which was goal-scoring, and which did the business. If we'd taken heart, I think we're the most wasteful team in the Premier League this season. We've missed the most big chances. So if we'd have put some of those in, I think that we'd have more points, we'd have more results. There'd be less sort of talk about this. Now, it depends what you're looking at. Now, a lot of teams in this division play similar football, which actually does really get on my nerves, and I don't enjoy it, which is that you get the ball in midfield or defence, and your first instinct is to turn around and go backwards and then play it across the back and go side and side. Now, if you're talking about that, then yes, that's not my favourite. I prefer not long ball, but I prefer a bit more aggressive attempt and urgency and directness like that. So, yeah, if we're talking about perhaps being played a bit slow, and I think first half yesterday, I commented on our chat and to Ian saying this is clearly a game of the two lowest scores in the Premier League, and both teams were not progressing quickly. It was slow. It was a bit laborious. So if we're talking about that side of it, yes, I think sometimes we can be a bit negative. That may be down to the players we've got. Obviously, there was no Eze, there's no Elise from last year. So, yeah, we can't always get it forward. In terms of the actual formation, I think the formation works. I think when Munoz and Mitchell are getting up and down, that's when it works. And I like having sort of three front players close to each other. And as I say, I think it should have yielded more results this season as it was. So I don't have too many problems with it. I think the biggest issue this season is finishing.
Thank you, mate. Phillips Von David said I'm a little bit perturbed by some of the substitutions. Phillips, I'd be intrigued, if you don't mind, if you would enlighten us on a little bit more detail there. What was on your mind when you actually wrote that? Because obviously we have a very limited squad, as Paul just alluded to. I'm going to ask Ian and Yaz the same question in a minute. But what is it you mean by you're perturbed by some of the substitutions the manager's making? Yaz, your thoughts, please. Are you happy? I mean, you travel week in, weekend, up and down the country 3 times this week. Is there anything that he's doing that you're not happy with?
I think the thing that Paul said about the sideways and backwards, like Kamada was facing completely the wrong way quite a few times and just passing it back. That's really irritating when you're in the ground. But when we were doing badly, I was thinking, oh no, I really don't want to get rid of Glasner. I think we should stay with him and see it all work out. So I was desperate for him and the team, obviously, to get a win because I thought I just don't want them to get rid of him, and who would we get in replacement of him? I think his substitutions, what I like is, say if we are losing the game, he'll make substitutions to throw on people that will go forward, and he's not afraid to do that, whereas we wouldn't have had that under
positive substitutions.
Yeah,
okay.
Like that. And at the moment, literally, someone said, we need to bring on some subs. I was like, who? Who off the bench do you think is going to make a difference to the game? I mean, I don't mind if they bring on the youngsters. I think that would be better than an unfit and overweight schlup. But obviously, you want to do it so that it has a positive impact on the young players and doesn't,
ruin their career,
their confidence and stuff if something should go wrong. And I'm sure he knows more about that than us. But yeah, I I like him. There are some things I don't like, and I'm just worried about who we would get if we got rid of him.
I think that's brilliantly said. And by the way, the reason I've posed this question, ladies and gents, is not an anti-Glasgow comment at all. The last thing I would want us to do is dismiss him at this stage. We're in enough trouble with him. I think we'd just be worse off without him. Ian, your thoughts, please.
Yeah, I like him. I like what he's doing. I think, as I said before on this show, I think the margins are really fine in the Premier League. Even before last week, I'll make us unlucky against Liverpool. I'll make us unlucky against Brentford in the opening game and other games where we could and should have got something out of it. And so we haven't been too far away. We're creating chances. We're not always putting them away and be potentially wasteful in front of goal. But I like the way we're playing. I think both Munoz and Mitchell have the ability, with maybe with a bit more coaching, to be good wing backs. You could argue that there needs to be an upgrade at some point, unless they sort of improve a bit more, especially Mitchell. Really, I don't know. Munoz seems to have it, but then again, he's a bit erratic. Munoz, he's a typical sort of Latin South American player who could be a bit erratic, but I'm happy with what he's doing overall, Glasner. I wouldn't want to see him change necessarily. I like the way the back three seem to be cementing together now and understanding each other's game. And this thing about playing out of the back and put the sideways and backwards, I think one of the key things here is that they're told not to lose possession, to keep the ball. And sometimes the only way to do that and keep the ball is to play it back and to play it sideways. And you see all teams do it. It's not just Crystal Palace. All teams do it. And some teams get found out because they can't play out from the back and they give it away. I don't think we've given it away very often, playing out from the back to lose goals from those situations. I think we're pretty good at doing that. And when you do play it well and you find you can get those passes through the lines, then that's when you see a difference and you see us creating opportunities from that possession style of football.
When you have a Michael Elise that works, or an Eze, there's too many times it goes into midfield and goes back again. It's just sometimes there's nothing wrong with a direct ball over the top. Sometimes it takes teams out and everything. I think it just gets a bit predictable.
No, I agree with you to a large extent as well. I mean, you saw Forest do it the other week, where the ball goes over the top and will just heads it into the goal. I think it's the Leicester game they played. But I think you do need to mix it up a bit as well. And the keeper needs to keepers playing football. You look at Henderson; he's out. He's sweeping keepers sometimes, like a lot of them. He's getting better at distribution, getting better with his feet, I think.
I'd like to also ask you a question on a couple of the others. Sarr, we've touched upon, and I'm thinking about the signs. And Lacroix. What do we think of Maxence Lacroix and Ismaili Sarr, please? Yes, your thoughts.
So I like Lacroix now. I must admit, I was a bit sort of like, oh, God, this is no Anderson that we've got here. But he's really coming good now. And I saw on Match of the Day when Wolves scored and he kept hold of the ball, and I thought that was really good. But because he did it, very calmly, which was great. Sarr, if he had scored some of the chances yesterday, we would have 3 points and we wouldn't have even been worrying about that goal at the end of the game. I'm not sure about him. He does get forward and he is quick, but he's got to take those chances. Some of them, probably even Ian could have scored. So they're gonna.
He wasn't there, love. He wasn't there.
If he'd been there,
Brutal.
And also, can I just say, because someone said about what I said about Schlupp, I just find it not acceptable for a professional athlete to be overweight and unfit.
And you know what? I'll make you right. I'll make you. He looks as though he's carrying a bit of timber. Odd question for you, boys. I'm going to ask you this similar sort of question, but in another way around. I like Ismaili Sarr. Okay, I think Max Sense is going to be a great player. Ismaili Sarr. Look at the physicality of the guy. Look at the size of the guy. Do you not think he would actually make a good number 9?
Apparently, one of the reasons we bought him because he did, when for Marseille, he did play up front a lot of the time as well. He's got that adaptability. Now, when we've been looking at him for years, and we've always been rumoured to want to buy. I never really wanted to buy him when he's at Watford because I've always found him to be very erratic, and so on one day he'll score 3 worldies, the next day he'll miss 3 sitters. So I think at the time we are now, I think he's good for our squad. I think he's good for the team in that he's pacey, which is I think we need up front at the moment because that was lacking a little bit. So yeah, I've never thought he was a great finisher, so it didn't surprise me. But we just can't afford to be missing these sorts of chances. So yeah, I think he could play up front. He's come on a couple of times at the start of the season when Mateta's gone off and played as the front man. He can do that job. Just quickly on Max Entz, I think, as I say, it obviously takes time to settle into that. I think what's helped, he was starting to get better anyway, but since the Forest game, he's moved into the middle of the back three, whereas Gay's gone back out to the left of the back three. And I think he's looked a lot more comfortable there, to be honest, as has Gay back as well. So I think that's helped. But yeah, that's my sort of thought of Sarr.
Ian.
Just quickly, Tony has put a few comments about Eddie Nketiah. I think it's harsh to judge Eddie Nketiah at the moment because he's not. We're playing him in a position he's never played really for Arsenal. He's a front man. So, yeah, I don't think he's as effective as he can be in the 10 role. But I think the last few weeks he's sort of had to play out of necessity. He had to play yesterday. It would be good to give him a run up front. He had a couple of games recently, but it would be interesting to see him in a run up front, to be honest.
Ian, your thoughts?
Yeah, well, on that, he's vying with Jean-Philippe Mateta, isn't he, for the starting position, if you're going to say that. But I think Nketiah just needs to bide his time a little bit, and he might be more useful to us off the bench, to replace Mateta during games. Because, we talked about Kamada playing in a 10. If Eze's out, let him play there, because I think he's more natural in that position than Nketiah is. Sarr, for me, let's give him a bit of time. Certainly a trier, isn't he? And he's quick as well. So give him some more opportunities. And if he misses any more, too many, just drop him, and replace him during a game. It may be if he's not doing it. So some of these players have got to be on the top of their game to keep getting selected, even with some of our injuries. They're playing for places. So that's a healthy thing. But our squad is fairly thin compared to others. And we need to, it's a tough one at the minute.
Which is a shame because at the start of the season we were sort of saying it was actually quite a strong squad. But it's taken a few key injuries and as you say, it suddenly looks a bit weak. Again, Kamada could play in 10, but he's sort of being forced to play at the back at the moment because obviously Lerma's out, Walton's not fully fit, Decore's been out. So it's basically been Hughes and one other. So he's sort of pushed in there at the moment. But yeah, it'll be once we've got a fully fit squad or a fitter squad, then it'd be good to see how these players that are being shoehorned in at the moment can be sort of rested or brought on when needed and bedded in properly.
Yeah, we got to remember it's a long season. It's a long season. Where are we? Early November. There's a lot of football to be played still.
Right, and the other very quick talking point, those that you don't know, it's become apparent over the last few days that John Textor's potential sale of his shares, his 45% shares in the club, is making progress. And I understand that Parish has held talks with 2 or 3 different interested parties. So for those of you asking the question about the Textor shares, just for your information, I have been in dialogue this week with Kieran Maguire from the Price of Football, and he has said that he's going to keep his eye on the situation for me and report back if there's anything of note worth talking about. And indeed, if I find something's actually going forward to a point of a sale, I'll actually invite Kieran back onto the show because there's no point in me speculating what we don't know. He said at the moment, the guy that is heading up the consortium is actually just a front man. He's just a finance man and there's nothing in it at the moment, although talks of it actually taking place. So if anything else comes from that, I promise you I will report back to you here, but I'll invite Kieran on to give you the more definitive answer on that question. So up and coming fixtures then, please, Nige. What we got coming up? I think we've got a couple of games coming up, haven't we? Oh, yeah, here we go. So home to Fulham next Saturday the 9th, okay, and then an international break, of course, and let's hope we might get a player or 2 back after that. Villa away, Newcastle at home on the 30th, which I might not be able to go to. Ian, you'll be able to be only too pleased to hear because it's my wife's birthday. Away at Ipswich, which will be a good game for those of you attending that. Home Man City, and then that lot at the South Coast. At the moment, is scheduled for Sunday the 15th of December at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, which is better than a Saturday fixture or even a Monday night fixture. Some difficult games coming up. Some difficult games. Any final? Oh, yeah, what are your predictions, please, for the Fulham games? Let's have them now in the chat before we close. I'll be interested to see how you get on. What do you think, Ian, for the Fulham game?
2-1 to us. We need to win it. We need to win it. They're half decent this year, Fulham, but I think with a home crowd, 3 points, 2-1.
Okay, Tom Clark Samuel saying 2-1 as well. Luke Cooper saying 3-1. Keep them coming, guys. Daniel Garlick saying 3-1. Mukhtar, how you doing, Mukhtar? I hope you're well, mate. Saying a draw. Paul Stiles is saying 2-2, another draw. Paul, your thoughts?
Yeah, well, as I say, if we can win that game, 3 points, 7 points out of the last 3 games is what I said we needed going forward. So I'm going to go for Palace to win 1-0, a Joachim Andersen own goal.
No, you'll have a job as suspended, mate.
No, he's playing. Yeah, he only got a 1-game ban, didn't he?
Oh, okay.
No, straight red. 3-game ban.
No, professional foul, 1 game.
Paul Bristow, is Joachim Andersen available for the Fulham game? Yes or no, please? Yes, your thoughts on the Fulham game?
So I was going to say 2-1, then you went to Ian first. So
that's all right. You can agree with me for once in your life, yes. And I don't mind that. Of course, we get a look at Fulham tomorrow night, don't we, on Sky? Because they're at home to Brentford. So, looking forward to watching that one and seeing what we're up against next Saturday. But it's a big game next Saturday. It's, we all remember that horrible 4-1 home defeat to Fulham in our first season. Was it our first season back in the Premier League? Yeah. It was shocking. And yet, I think they're not a big club. They're a funny club, aren't they, Fulham? Sort of.
They are a funny club. Ian, I'm just going to refer back to these comments. Phillips von Davis said no. Paul Bristow says yes. There's a couple of others went through there as well. Someone, as I thought he was bad, said Lee. Joachim is back tomorrow, says Mukhtar. So I'm really now confused. My understanding was as soon as he got sent off, he wasn't available for the Palace game. But I am prepared to be wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to give it... Nigel, have I forgotten anything else? If I have, put it up on screen now. I will be back on Sunday, the 10th of November at 8 o'clock, reviewing, obviously, the Fulham game. Don't forget, it's this coming weekend is also Remembrance Sunday. Guys, thank you for joining me this evening. Everybody out that's contributed out in YouTube land, I thank you to Paul, Yaz, Ian, as always. Can't do it without you, superstars. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of myself, Nick Philpott, we'll see you again shortly. We will remember them. Good night.
See you guys.
Cheers.
Bye.